Welcome to the world of science fiction. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss new stories. Enjoy the listening. The last thing Alexis K remembered was fire. Now, consciousness slammed back into him like a plasma burst, his new body jerking upright on a cold metal slab. His hands, unfamiliar, calloused hands, clutched at his chest where phantom pain still blazed from the hegemony's final attack. Neural integration complete, a mechanical voice announced. Host body acceptance, optimal. Alexis blinked, adjusting to vision that felt simultaneously sharper and duller than his old eyes. The dim laboratory around him buzzed with ancient tech, its curved walls covered in pulsing blue circuitry that looked nothing like Earth Coalition design. Where? His voice caught. Different vocal cords. Different throat. He swallowed hard. Where am I? Zipheron, Mining Colony 7, the AI responded. Emergency consciousness transfer successful via ECO's chip implementation. Original body, terminated. The memories flooded back. His final mission as humanity's top operative, the ambush, his ship breaking apart around him as biotech hegemony forces overwhelmed Earth's defenses. Then darkness, until now. He stood carefully, testing his new body's responses, shorter than his original form, but wiry with muscle from what must have been years of physical labor. A miner's body, according to the AI. His reflection in a darkened screen showed a stranger's face, weathered, with dark eyes and unkempt black hair. How long was I? An explosion rocked the facility before the AI could answer. Alexis's combat instincts kicked in instantly, muscle memory from his original body translating surprisingly well as he dropped into a defensive crouch. Alert, the AI announced unnecessarily. Combat drone malfunction in Royal Section. Queen Zara's life signs. Elevated. Queen? Alexis muttered, already moving toward the exit. Whatever else had changed, he was still a soldier. And soldiers didn't let civilians die, royal or otherwise. He sprinted through curved corridors, following the sound of energy weapons fire and screaming. The scene he burst into was chaos. A massive combat drone, clearly ancient tech gone haywire, firing indiscriminately at a group of fleeing courtiers in flowing robes. And at their center, Alexis's breath caught. The woman had to be Queen Zara. No one else would dare wear that crown of crystalline spires. But it was her appearance that struck him, tall and athletically built, with skin the deep blue of Earth's oceans and features that somehow managed to be both alien and breathtaking. She was shouting orders, trying to organize a defense with what looked like ceremonial weapons against military-grade armor. "Get down!" he yelled, diving forward as the drone locked onto her heat signature. His new body moved surprisingly well, muscle memory from years of mining translating into raw physical power as he tackled her behind a fallen pillar. Energy bolts scorched the air where she'd been standing. "How dare you touch me, male?" she snarled, shoving him away. Despite the situation, her voice was musical, with an accent he couldn't place. "You're welcome, Your Majesty," he shot back, scanning for weapons. "Though I'd be happy to let you handle the killer robot yourself if you prefer." Her eyes widened in outrage at his tone, but another explosion cut off her response. The drone was advancing, its targeting systems beginning to compensate for their cover. "Those ceremonial spears your guards dropped," Alexis said quickly. "They're energy weapons, right? Old tech?" "Of course they are," she snapped, "but they don't have the power to penetrate that drone's shields. They don't need to." His mind was already racing, old tactical training clicking into place. "See that crystalline formation on its left side? That's a cooling vent. One good hit there while it's firing would cause a feedback loop in its power core," she finished, eyes narrowing. "You know our technology." "Lucky guess. Can you make the shot?" She gave him a look that could have frozen plasma. "I'm Queen Zara. I can make any shot." Prove it, he challenged, and without waiting for permission, he darted out from cover, waving his arms. Hey, over here, you oversized calculator. The drone's sensors locked onto him immediately. He dove and rolled as it opened fire, leading it away from the pillar. Behind him, he heard the distinctive whine of an energy spear powering up. "Any time now, Your Majesty," he called, narrowly avoiding another blast that left his borrowed body's muscles screaming in protest. "Not that I'm not enjoying this dance, but—" A lance of blue energy streaked past him, striking the drone precisely where he'd indicated. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the machine's shields flickered and died as its power core went into overload. Alexis hit the ground as it exploded in a shower of sparks and ancient alloys. When the smoke cleared, Queen Zara stood over him, spear still humming with power. Her expression was a fascinating mix of annoyance and curiosity. "You know," Alexis said, climbing to his feet with a grunt, "for a great queen, you seem pretty prone to technological disasters. Maybe listening to men occasionally isn't such a bad idea?" Her perfect features hardened. "You dare?" "Save your life?" "Yeah, I do dare. Crazy of me, I know." For a moment he thought she might actually strike him. Then, surprisingly, one corner of her mouth twitched upward. "What's your designation, Minor?" "Alex," he said, deciding to keep it simple. "And yours is—" "You're welcome." This time, he was certain. There was definitely amusement fighting with the outrage in her expression. She raised one elegant eyebrow. "You're either very brave or very foolish, Alex the Minor. Perhaps both." She studied him with unnerving intensity. "Tell me, how does a common laborer know so much about military drones and combat tactics? Would you believe I read a lot?" "No." She gestured and guards began emerging from hiding, surrounding them. "I wouldn't, which is why you're going to come with me and explain exactly who you are." Alexis glanced at the armed escorts. "Is this an invitation or an arrest?" "That depends entirely on how honest you decide to be." She turned with a swish of royal robes. "Consider yourself my new project. I do so enjoy solving puzzles." "Lucky me," Alexis muttered, falling in step behind her as the guards closed ranks. Things were moving fast, too fast for him to properly process his situation. But he was alive, in a new body, on an unknown world. And he just caught the interest of its remarkably beautiful and dangerous queen. As they walked through the gleaming corridors of the palace, Alexis couldn't help but notice how other males practically plastered themselves against the walls to avoid Zara's path. Their eyes stayed firmly fixed on the floor, bodies tense with fear. He'd heard whispers in the mines about the queen's infamous hatred of men, how she'd banished all male advisors from her court, rejected countless suitors from powerful houses, and even executed a few who dared to speak against her decisions. Now, walking barely 2 steps behind her, he understood why they still tried. Zara moved with lethal grace, her tall, athletic form wrapped in ceremonial armor that enhanced rather than concealed her perfect curves. Her blue skin seemed to shimmer with an inner light, making the intricate tattoos that marked her royal status appear to dance across her exposed shoulders. But it was her presence that truly commanded attention. She radiated power and authority with every step. "Your hospitality is touching," Alexis remarked as they entered what appeared to be a private council chamber. "Though I usually prefer dinner before being interrogated." The guards tensed, hands tightening on their weapons. No one spoke to the queen this way. Not since she'd exiled the last male who'd attempted such familiarity to the outer mining colonies. Zara turned, and Alexis found himself caught in her gaze. Her eyes were the color of molten silver, with subtle patterns that reminded him of spiral galaxies. A lesser man might have dropped his gaze. Alexis smiled instead. "You find this amusing?" she asked. her melodic voice carrying an edge of steel. "I find you amusing," he replied honestly. "All this power, all this technology, and you're so focused on hating half your population that you nearly got killed by a malfunctioning drone." One of the guards actually gasped. Zara's eyes narrowed dangerously. "I have rejected every male who has sought my attention because none of them are worthy," she stated coldly. "The last one who thought himself my equal now breaks rocks in the forbidden zones. The one before him," she smiled, showing teeth that seemed just slightly too sharp. "Well, let's just say he won't be bothering anyone anymore." "Impressive," Alexis said, dropping casually into one of the council chairs. The guards stepped forward, but Zara waved them back, apparently fascinated by his audacity. "But I'm not seeking your attention, Your Majesty. I'm just wondering why someone smart enough to make that impossible shot with the spear is determined to ignore potentially useful advisors based on gender. You dare lecture me on governance?" But there was something new in her voice, curiosity warring with her usual contempt. "I dare to point out the obvious, and right now it's obvious you're letting something personal cloud your judgment." Zara moved with lightning speed, closing the distance between them. She planted her hands on the arms of his chair, leaning down until their faces were inches apart. This close, her beauty was almost overwhelming, but so was the dangerous intensity radiating from her. "You know nothing of my reasons," she hissed. "Then educate me," he replied softly. "Or are you afraid I might understand them?" For a long moment they stayed locked in that tableau, the powerful queen and the mysterious minor, neither willing to back down. Finally, Zara straightened, something like respect flickering across her perfect features. "You're different," she said, almost to herself. Then, louder, "Leave us." The guards hesitated. "My queen, the protocols are mine to decide," she cut them off. "Out, all of you." Once they were alone, she settled into the chair opposite him, studying him with those remarkable eyes. 67, she said. "Pardon? That's how many marriage proposals I've rejected. How many ambitious males thought they could tame the savage queen." Her mouth twisted. "4 tried to force the issue. Their fate served as warnings to others. And yet here you are, having a civil conversation with a mere minor. A minor who fights like a soldier and talks like a diplomat." She leaned forward. "Start talking, Alex. Who are you really?" Before he could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the palace. Zara was on her feet instantly, moving to a holographic display that sprang to life on the wall. "Perimeter breach in Sector 7, she announced, her voice tight. "Multiple hostile signatures." "Let me guess," Alexis said grimly, already moving to study the tactical display. "More malfunctioning drones?" "No." Her expression darkened. "These are coming from orbit. We're under attack." The attack was over almost as quickly as it began, a probing strike rather than a full assault, but it had left its mark. Smoking craters in the outer defense perimeter, damaged sensors, and most importantly, questions. "Those weren't standard raider tactics," Alexis said, examining the aftermath from the palace's command center. "They were testing your responses, mapping your defensive patterns." Zara paced behind him, her long strides graceful despite her obvious agitation. The battle had forced them to work together, and his quick tactical thinking had prevented several breaches in their defenses. "A game," she mused, stopping to study one of the tactical displays. "They're playing with us." Her silver eyes flickered to him. "Just as you played earlier, pretending to be a simple miner." Alexis tensed. "Your Majesty—" "Oh, don't bother denying it," she cut him off, moving closer. "I've watched you. Your combat awareness, your understanding of military strategy, the way you analyze threats. No miner possesses those skills." She circled him slowly, like a predator evaluating prey. But there was something else in her gaze now, intrigue rather than suspicion. "The question is," she continued, "what to do with you? You could try asking nicely for my help." She laughed, a genuine sound that seemed to surprise them both. "I don't ask, Alex. I command. How's that working out for you, besides the whole nearly getting killed by a drone thing?" Her hand shot out, fingers gripping his chin. The touch sent an unexpected current through him. Her skin was surprisingly warm for its blue tone. "You are either remarkably brave or catastrophically foolish," she said softly. "Most men can barely look me in the eye, let alone speak to me this way. Most men haven't seen what I've seen." He held her gaze. "Or lost what I've lost." Something flickered in her expression, recognition perhaps of a kindred spirit who understood loss. She released him but stayed close. "Then perhaps we can help each other," she said. "You need protection. Don't deny it. Whatever you're running from, wherever you came from, you're safer under my authority than hiding in the mines. And what do you get out of this arrangement?" Her smile was dangerous and beautiful. "A pet project, someone to study, a man who isn't afraid of me. That alone makes you a fascinating specimen." "I'm not a lab experiment, Your Majesty." "No," she agreed. "You're much more interesting than that. Consider yourself promoted from minor to royal advisor, though pet might be a more accurate term." Alexis knew he should refuse. Every instinct from his old life as an operative screamed that getting closer to power meant increasing his chances of discovery. But he needed information, resources, and most importantly, access to the ancient technology that might help him understand what the Ecos chip had done to him. "And if I refuse? Then I'll have no choice but to investigate you more thoroughly. Shall we begin with how you acquired military-grade combat training?" It wasn't really a choice at all. Besides, something about her fascinated him. The contradiction between her strength and her isolation, the hints of pain behind her practiced cruelty. "Very well, Your Majesty. I accept your generous offer." "Excellent." She turned away, but not before he caught the satisfied gleam in her eye. "Report to the royal quarters tomorrow morning. We'll begin your orientation." As Alexis watched her leave, he couldn't shake the feeling that he'd just voluntarily walked into a trap. But for the first time since waking in this new body, he felt truly alive. The guards returned to escort him to his new quarters, their expressions a mix of pity and curiosity. They'd seen others earn the Queen's attention before. It rarely ended well, but none of them had been like him. None of them had carried the secrets he did, and none of them had seen the look in Zara's eyes when she touched him. That moment of recognition between two damaged souls playing very dangerous games. As the first act of his new life drew to a close, Alexis K., former Earth Coalition operative, current royal pet, and keeper of technologies that could reshape worlds, allowed himself a small smile. The game was just beginning. The memory of last night burned in Alexis's mind as he watched dawn break over Zipheron's crystalline spires, her unexpected appearance in his quarters, the whispered assertion that her pet shouldn't sleep alone, the electricity of her touch. But now, in the harsh light of morning, his chambers were empty save for the lingering scent of her exotic perfume. A chime from his door terminal interrupted his reverie. "The Queen demands your presence in the war room," announced a guard's clipped voice. Alexis smiled wryly. Demands? Of course she did. Even after last night, Zara would never simply request anything. The war room hummed with ancient technology when he arrived. Zara stood at its center, her blue skin practically glowing under the holographic displays. She didn't acknowledge his entrance, but he noticed how her posture shifted slightly, more alert, more aware. "You're late," she said without turning. Missing me already, Your Majesty? Now she did turn, silver eyes narrowing. Don't mistake last night for weakness, pet. I own you now. Nothing more. Of course. He moved to stand beside her, studying the tactical displays. Though I seem to recall you being rather fond of your new possession. A ghost of a smile played at her lips before she caught herself. Today's mission should remind you of your place. The outer mining colonies report strange energy signatures. You'll investigate. Alone? Worried? About you missing me? Always. She gestured sharply, and the holographic display zoomed in on a particular sector. These readings match no known Xipheron technology. If hostile forces are probing our defenses, you need your best man on it. He caught her eye. Or should I say, your favorite pet? My most aggravating one, certainly. But there was no real bite in her words. The mission parameters. A sudden explosion rocked the chamber. Alarm klaxons blared as red warning lights bathed everything in crimson. Multiple breaches in the outer defense grid, a technician shouted. Unknown vessels entering atmosphere. Xara's fingers flew over the control panels. Pattern matches last attack, but exponentially larger force. They're not testing anymore. This is a full invasion. Alexis was already moving, combat instincts kicking in. We need to mobilize the civilian defense forces. No. Her voice turned to ice. Male civilians are not trusted with weapons. For heaven's sake, Xara, this isn't the time for... You forget yourself, pet. She whirled on him, all traces of last night's intimacy gone. I am your queen, and my word is law. Another explosion emphasized her words. On the tactical displays, enemy forces were spreading through the outer city like a virus. Then your law will get people killed, he snapped. Look at those deployment patterns. They're targeting civilian sectors first. They know you won't arm half your population. They're using your prejudice against you. For a moment, something vulnerable flickered across her perfect features. Then her walls slammed back into place. You know nothing of why I... Then tell me. He grabbed her shoulders, ignoring the guards who instantly raised their weapons. What happened to make you hate us so much? What are you really protecting yourself from? She shoved him away, but not before he saw tears threatening to spill from those remarkable eyes. The last time I trusted men with weapons, she said quietly, they murdered my family, used our own defenses against us, my father's most trusted generals, turning our technology against the royal house because they couldn't stand serving under a female heir. The pieces clicked into place, her isolation, her hatred, her iron control. But before Alexis could respond, another explosion rocked the palace. My queen! A guard captain rushed in. They've breached the inner perimeter. They're using our own ancient tech against us somehow. Xara's face went pale. The vault. They're after the vault. What vault? Alexis demanded. She met his eyes, and for the first time, he saw real fear there. The bioweapons vault. Technology so dangerous my ancestors sealed it away. If the hegemony gets their hands on it... It was Alexis's turn to pale. The hegemony? Here? They must have tracked him somehow, followed the Ecos chip's signature. Xara, he said softly, using her name without titles for the first time. I need to tell you something about who I really am and why they might be here. But before he could continue, the war room's doors burst open. Through them strode Xara's most trusted advisor, Lyra, flanked by soldiers in hegemony battle armor. I'm afraid, Lyra said with a cold smile, that explanation will have to wait. I should have known, Xara spat, her silver eyes blazing with fury. A woman betraying me. Is that supposed to be ironic, Lyra? Oh, please, Lyra rolled her eyes, her weapon trained steadily on them. Your paranoid hatred of men made you predictably blind. While you were obsessing over masculine threats, You never noticed who was really accessing the vault archives. Alexis's mind raced, analyzing angles, counting guards. His new body might not have his old combat implants, but the Ecos chip was still whirring with tactical calculations. "The drone attack," he said. "That was you testing the defense systems." "Clever pet," Lyra smirked. "No wonder our queen took such a personal interest in you. Speaking of which, your biosignature is fascinating. Care to explain how a simple miner has military-grade neural modifications?" Zara's head snapped toward him. "What?" "I can explain," Alexis started, but Lyra cut him off. "Oh, please do. Tell us how Earth Coalition's legendary human blade ended up in a miner's body on our little planet. The hegemony has been very interested in your survival, Commander K." He felt Zara stiffen beside him. "Your Earth Coalition?" "Was," Alexis corrected, never taking his eyes off Lyra's weapon, "until they sent me to stop the hegemony from acquiring biological weapons. My ship was destroyed, but this—" he tapped his temple where the Ecos chip lay hidden, "saved my consciousness, transferred it into this body." "The most decorated operative in Earth's history," Lyra explained, clearly enjoying the revelation. "Known for infiltrating impossible targets, stealing forbidden tech, and now here you are, warming our queen's bed while coincidentally positioned near our weapons vault." "That's not why," Alexis began, but Zara's bitter laugh stopped him. "So I was right all along. Men really can't be trusted." The hurt in her voice was masked with venom. "Was any of it real, pet? Or was I just another mission objective?" "The only thing that wasn't real was my cover story," Alexis said quietly. "Everything else, every word, every moment, that was me. The real me, not the operative." "How touching," Lyra interrupted. "But the hegemony doesn't care about your romance novel. They want the bioweapons, and more importantly, they want that Ecos chip in your head, the prototype that let you cheat death itself." Understanding dawned on Zara's face. "That's how you knew our technology. You've seen it before." "The chip was reverse-engineered from ancient Zipheron tech," Alexis confirmed. "I didn't know its origin until I woke up here, recognized the architectural patterns. Your ancestors didn't just create bioweapons, they found a way to transfer consciousness itself. And now," Lyra said, "you'll help us access the vault or we'll extract that chip the messy way." "Like hell," Zara snarled, her hand inching toward a concealed weapon. "I wouldn't," Lyra warned. "My forces have already secured the civilian sectors. Resist, and they start executing hostages, starting with the male population you so conveniently concentrated in the mining colonies." Alexis saw the conflict war across Zara's features, rage versus responsibility, pride versus protection of her people. He made his decision. "I'll do it," he said. "Alex, no. Your Majesty," he cut her off formally. "I've lived one lifetime serving a corrupt system. Let me use this second chance for something better." He turned to Lyra. "I'll help you access the vault, but I want your word the civilians won't be harmed." Lyra's smile was predatory. "Of course. The hegemony are not monsters after all. We're simply progressive thinkers. Now move." As they were led from the war room at gunpoint, Alexis risked one last glance at Zara. The betrayal in her eyes cut deeper than any wound from his past life, but she hadn't seen what he had during his infiltration of hegemony bases. Didn't know what he knew about their progressive bioweapons programs. Most importantly, she didn't know that the Ecos chip wasn't just a consciousness transfer device. It was a key to controlling the very weapons the hegemony sought. He just hoped he'd live long enough to show her the truth. And maybe, if they survived this, earn back what his lies had destroyed. The descent to the vault felt endless. Ancient elevators carried them deeper beneath the palace, past layers of security that predated even Zara's reign. The air grew colder, filled with the hum of dormant technology. Fascinating architecture, Lyra mused, keeping her weapon trained on them. Your ancestors built to last, my queen, though I suppose they're his ancestors too, in a way. The Ecos chip's design proves Earth scavenged more than just weapons from Zephyron. Alexis felt Zara shift almost imperceptibly closer to him. The guards had bound their hands but left them standing together, a mistake born of overconfidence. The vault entrance requires genetic authorization, Zara announced, her voice cold. Royal bloodline only. Then it's fortunate we kept you alive. Lyra gestured to the massive door. After you, your majesty. As Zara moved forward, she brushed against Alexis. Her whisper was so faint he nearly missed it. I'm late. He kept his face carefully neutral, even as his mind raced. Late? Then last night's vulnerability, her sudden softness. Impossible, she breathed, barely moving her lips as she pressed her palm to the scanner. They said I couldn't. The implications hit him like a plasma burst. A child, his child. Something that should have been impossible between their species. Yet the Ecos chip had apparently done more than just transfer his consciousness. The vault door hummed to life, ancient mechanisms grinding open. But Alexis barely noticed, his tactical mind already recalculating everything. He wasn't just fighting for himself anymore, or even for Zara and her people. If the hegemony got their hands on the bioweapons, if they learned what the combination of his altered DNA and hers had created... Stop stalling, Lyra snapped, shoving them forward into the vault. The weapons containment chamber. Now. The vault's interior was a maze of crystalline chambers, each holding technological horrors from a forgotten age. Alexis caught glimpses of devices that could rewrite genetic codes, reshape matter, even alter the fabric of space itself. All this power, Lyra breathed, her mask of cold efficiency slipping. The hegemony will reshape the galaxy with weapons that killed their own creators, Zara cut in. You think you're the first to try controlling this technology? My ancestors sealed it away for a reason. Your ancestors were cowards. The hegemony understands sacrifice for progress. Lyra pointed to a sealed chamber ahead. That one. Open it. Alexis moved closer to Zara, using the pretense of examining the lock. Trust me, he murmured. You lied to me. About my past, never about us. She was silent for a long moment, her hand unconsciously touching her abdomen. Finally, almost imperceptibly, she nodded. The lock requires 2 royal signatures, she announced loudly. A failsafe. I'll need to... In one fluid motion, Alexis drove his elbow back into the nearest guard's throat. The Ecos chip blazed to life, flooding his borrowed body with combat data. Zara moved in perfect sync, her bound hand somehow free as she disarmed another guard. Stop them! Lyra screamed, but Alexis was already rolling, grabbing a fallen weapon. The chip interfaced with the ancient tech instantly, neural pathways connecting to systems that recognized their own. Zara reached for a control panel, her fingers dancing across symbols. Containment fields sprang to life, trapping half the hegemony forces behind barriers of pure energy. Kill them! Lyra raised her weapon, but Alexis was faster. The shot took her in the shoulder, spinning her back. Zara! Run! He shouted, laying down, covering fire. Get to the surface, warn. I'm not leaving you, she snarled, proving her point by dropping another guard with a savage kick. Not now, not ever. The vault's compromised, Lyra shouted into her communicator as she scrambled for cover. Initiate Protocol Omega. An alarm unlike any other began to sound. Not the standard warning klaxons, but a deep, resonating tone that seemed to vibrate through the very foundations of the facility. No, Zara breathed, her silver eyes widening in horror. They're activating the containment failsafe. The entire vault will self-destruct. Alexis's Ecos chip was practically screaming with data as it interfaced with the surrounding technology. How long? 10 minutes until total molecular breakdown. She fired at a group of advancing guards, forcing them back. Everything inside will be reduced to base atoms. Including the bioweapons, Lyra called out, clutching her wounded shoulder. Unless you surrender now, the hegemony has override codes. She's bluffing, Alexis said, though doubt gnawed at him. The hegemony's intelligence network was vast. If they'd had a spy this close to Zara for so long. Alex. Zara's voice was urgent but controlled. The weapons aren't the only thing that will be destroyed. The containment field. It's spreading upward. He checked the readings flooding through his chip and felt his blood run cold. The destructive field would reach the civilian sectors above them. How many people? Thousands. Her hand touched her abdomen again, so briefly he almost missed it. Including, I know. He met her eyes, seeing not the cruel queen but the woman who'd come to his chambers last night, who'd whispered vulnerabilities in the dark. I won't let that happen. How touching, Lyra mocked. But sentiment won't save them. Only the hegemony's codes can stop this now. Alexis's mind raced. The Ecos chip was interfacing with the vault systems, showing him pathways and possibilities. Maybe. Zara, he said quietly, do you trust me? You already asked me that. This time it's bigger. He took a breath. The chip, it's not just for consciousness transfer. It's a key designed to interface with your ancestors' technology. If I plug directly into the main system, it could kill you, she hissed. Burn out your mind completely. Better me than thousands of innocents. He managed a crooked smile. Besides, I've already died once, getting kind of used to it. No. Her free hand grabbed his arm, surprisingly strong. I won't lose you too. Not when. She swallowed hard. Not when our child needs their father. The words hung between them, making everything more real, but they also strengthened his resolve. Then I'll just have to survive. Again. He touched her face briefly. Cover me. Before she could object further, he sprinted toward the central control matrix. Lyra screamed orders and weapons fire filled the air. But Zara was already moving. Her natural grace transformed into lethal purpose as she engaged the remaining guards. Alexis reached the matrix, his fingers finding the neural interface port. The chip hummed, recognizing its ancestral technology. Last chance, Lyra shouted. The codes! Were never real, he called back, understanding flooding through him as the chip connected deeper with the vault systems. You didn't have override codes. You were hoping we'd panic and surrender. Her silence was answer enough. Alex. Zara's voice was strained as she held off the guards. Whatever you're going to do, I know. He took one last look at her, fierce and beautiful and carrying impossible new life within her. I love you too. Then he plugged in fully, and the world dissolved into pure data and light. Pain exploded through Alexis's consciousness as ancient codes surged through the Ecos chip. He was dimly aware of his body convulsing, of Zara screaming his name, but everything was secondary to the flood of information. The vault systems opened before him like a blooming flower of light. He saw everything, the true nature of the bioweapons, the fail-safes, the original purpose of the technology that had become the Ecos chip. His ancestors hadn't created these weapons for war. They'd been trying to save themselves from a genetic plague. The weapons were meant to be cures. Alex! Zara's voice seemed to come from very far away. The containment field is reaching the civilian sectors. He pushed deeper into the system, letting the chip guide him. The fail-safe wasn't just a destruction protocol. It was a purification system designed to neutralize the weapons if they ever went out of control. If he could just... A searing bolt of pain shot through his temple. Blood trickled from his nose, but he held on. "It's over," Lyra's voice echoed. "Even if you stop the fail-safe, you'll never survive the neural feedback." She was right. He could feel his consciousness fragmenting, the borrowed body failing under the strain. But he could also feel something else, a flutter of life, distant but connected to him through some impossible twist of genetics and ancient technology. His child, their child. With the last of his strength, he reached for the core protocol and rewrote it. The deep alarm tone changed pitch. Above them, the destructive field began to recede. "Impossible," Lyra breathed. "No," Zara said, and he could hear the smile in her voice even through the haze of pain. "Just impossible for you." The world was growing dim around the edges, but Alexis managed to raise his head. Through blurring vision, he saw hegemony forces being surrounded by royal guards. The cavalry had finally arrived. Lyra was on her knees, disarmed and defeated. Then Zara was there, catching him as his legs gave out. "Stay with me," she commanded. Every inch the queen, even with tears in her silver eyes. "That's an order, pet." He tried to smile. "Never been good at following orders." "Then do it for us." Her hand pressed his to her abdomen. "Both of us." The Ecos chip was burning, synapses firing wildly as the neural feedback threatened to tear his consciousness apart. But somewhere in the chaos, he felt a connection stabilize, the chip interfacing with the vault systems in a way its creators had intended but never achieved. As darkness took him, Alexis had one last thought. He died once before, and that had led him to her. Whatever came next, they'd face it together. Consciousness returned slowly, in fragments of sensation. First came the steady beep of medical monitors, then the soft brush of expensive sheets against his skin. Finally, Alexis opened his eyes to find himself in what could only be the royal medical chamber. 3 days, Zara's voice came from beside him. 3 days I've waited for you to wake up, you insufferable human. He turned his head to see her perched regally in a chair by his bed, though the effect was somewhat undermined by the fact that she was wearing what appeared to be his jacket over her royal garments. "Missed me that much?" His voice was rough, but the smile came easily. "Don't flatter yourself." But she moved closer, her blue fingers intertwining with his. The chip? Still here. He could feel it humming in his mind, different now, evolved. It's changed. The vault systems upgraded it somehow. I can feel connections I never could before. The doctors say it's completely integrated with your neural pathways now. No more borrowed body rejecting the transfer. She squeezed his hand. You're stuck as you are. Could be worse. He managed to sit up, noting how much easier it felt. At least I'm stuck with you. Her other hand went to her abdomen, a gesture becoming familiar. About that. The baby? Sudden fear gripped him. Is fine. Her smile was radiant. More than fine. The doctors say the combination of your modified genetics and my bloodline, it's perfect, healthy, strong. She paused. And apparently, there are 2 of them. Alexis felt his jaw drop. Twins? The first natural conception in the royal line in 3 generations. Her expression grew serious. Which means we have a problem. Besides the fact that I'm going to be a father to alien twins. The succession. She stood pacing with nervous energy. My council is in an uproar. Half of them want to execute you for treason. The other half want to crown you king consort immediately to legitimize the heirs. And what do you want? She stopped pacing, fixing him with those remarkable silver eyes. I want what I've always wanted, to protect my people, to be strong. A pause. To not be alone anymore. You're not. He reached for her hand again. But we both know this isn't over. The hegemony won't stop coming for the vault's secrets, and Lyra is being very cooperative in interrogation. Zara's smile turned predatory. Amazing what people will reveal when faced with a pregnant queen's hormonal rage. Remind me never to get on your bad side. Too late for that. But she leaned down to kiss him softly. We have work to do. The outer colonies need rebuilding. The male population needs to be integrated into the defense forces. And apparently, I need to plan a royal wedding before I start showing. Is that a proposal, Your Majesty? That's an order, pet. But her eyes sparkled with something that looked suspiciously like joy. Think you can handle it? Before he could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the palace. They shared a look of exasperated amusement. Never a dull moment, he suggested. With you? Never. She helped him stand, both of them turning toward the door. Ready to save the world again? Always. Together, they stepped out to face whatever new crisis awaited, knowing that this time they wouldn't face it alone. The hegemony fleet will reach Ziphiron's orbit in 6 hours, Alexis announced to the assembled War Council. 3 months had passed since the Vault incident, and the enemy had finally played their last card, a full-scale invasion force. Zara stood at the head of the table, her royal armor modified to accommodate her growing pregnancy. Yet somehow, she looked more formidable than ever, her silver eyes blazing with determination. Let them come, she declared. This time, we're ready. And they were. The past months had transformed Zephyrin's defenses. Male and female soldiers trained together now, their combined strengths creating something new. The ancient technology Alexis had accessed through his enhanced Ecos chip had been repurposed, turning defensive systems into an impenetrable shield rather than weapons of mass destruction. Their primary target will be the Vault, Alexis continued, the chip feeding him tactical data. But they don't know what we've done with it. Zara smiled, that dangerous, beautiful expression that still made his heart race. Show them. He nodded and activated the holographic display. The Vault's chamber appeared above the table but transformed. Where once there had been weapons of war, now stood medical facilities, genetic research labs, and healing chambers. The bioweapons were never meant to destroy, he explained. They were meant to save. We've restored them to their original purpose, curing diseases, repairing genetic damage, healing what was broken. His eyes met Zara's, including royal bloodlines thought barren. Her hand touched her abdomen briefly, a gesture of pride now rather than worry. Their twins were proof of what the restored technology could do. The hegemony won't care, one of the counselors argued. They'll still try to take it by force. Let them try, Zara said softly. Alexis? He activated another display showing Ziphiron's new defensive grid. The Ecos chip doesn't just let me interface with the ancient systems. It lets me understand them, improve them. We've turned the Vault's purification protocols into a planetary shield. Any hostile force that enters our atmosphere will find their weapons transformed. Transformed how? Asked another counselor. Alexis allowed himself a small smile. Into something rather more constructive. The hegemony wants to reshape the galaxy? We'll give them that chance, just not in the way they intended. The council chamber erupted in discussion, but Alexis's attention was drawn to Zara. She'd gone suddenly still, her hand pressed more firmly against her stomach. Your Majesty? He asked, protocol in public but concern in his voice. They're active today, she murmured. Then, louder to the council, get to your stations, enact the defense protocols. My husband and I need a moment. The room cleared quickly. No one argued with that tone. As soon as they were alone, Alexis moved to her side. The babies are fine. She caught his hand, placing it where he could feel the strong kicks, but their timing could be better. taking after their mother already, dramatic entrances and all. She punched his arm but couldn't hide her smile. We need to talk about after. After we defeat the massive invasion fleet? After the twins are born. Her expression grew serious. The council's been pushing for a formal coronation, making you king in your own right, not just consort. I didn't survive 2 deaths and an impossible consciousness transfer to become a politician, Alexis said. But his tone was gentle. The throne is yours. Always has been. Our children will need... The palace warning system interrupted them, its tone urgent but not panicked. Hegemony fleet entering final approach vector. Zara straightened, every inch the warrior queen. Shall we show them what happens when they threaten our family? After you, Your Majesty. They made their way to the central command center where organized chaos reigned. Officers, male and female working in seamless coordination, managed battle stations as the massive hegemony fleet descended from orbit. Through his enhanced Ecos chip, Alexis could feel Zephyrin's defensive systems humming to life. The ancient technology, repurposed and renewed, ready to protect rather than destroy. First wave approaching atmosphere, an officer announced. Let them get comfortable, Zara commanded. Let them think they have the advantage. The hegemony ships entered weapons range, their initial salvos splashing harmlessly against Zephyron's new shields. On the tactical displays, enemy forces began deploying in classic invasion patterns. They're positioning for a strike on the vault, Alexis noted, the chip feeding him their tactical data. Just as we predicted. Now? Zara asked, her silver eyes gleaming. Now. Alexis connected fully to the defense grid through his chip. The sensation was different from that desperate day in the vault. Controlled, purposeful. The ancient systems recognized him now not as an intruder, but as a rightful heir. His modified genetics and evolved chip creating a perfect interface. Energy cascaded from orbital platforms they'd spent months positioning. The hegemony fleet found itself caught in a web of transformative power. The same technology that had once created weapons of war now turned to a greater purpose. By the stars, someone whispered as they watched the results. The invasion fleet's weapons were being transformed at the molecular level, converted into medical supplies, building materials, tools for creation rather than destruction. Ship after ship found itself suddenly carrying not the means of conquest, but the potential for healing. What have you done? The transmission from the hegemony flagship crackled with rage and disbelief. We've given you what you wanted, Zara replied, her voice carrying the weight of generations. The power to reshape worlds, just not through destruction. She smiled. Consider it a gift from the savage queen and her impossible consort. The battle, if it could be called that, was over in minutes. The hegemony fleet, stripped of its offensive capability and suddenly carrying cargo too valuable to risk, had no choice but to withdraw. As the last ships retreated from orbit, Zara suddenly gasped, clutching her abdomen. The twins, she managed through clenched teeth. They've definitely got your sense of timing. Alexis caught her as her knees buckled. Medical team to the command center. Hours later, in the royal medical chamber, Alexis held his son while Zara cradled their daughter. The babies were perfect. Their skin a softer shade of blue than their mother's, their eyes holding hints of silver. They're beautiful, he whispered. They're impossible, Zara corrected with a tired smile. Just like their father. Just like us, he countered, settling beside her on the bed. The soldier who died twice, and the queen who swore she'd never trust again. Speaking of impossible things, she hesitated. The council's right. The people need to see their new future, a united one. Alexis looked down at their children, living proof that the greatest barriers could be overcome. Together, then? Together, she agreed, though I'm still in charge. Wouldn't have it any other way, Your Majesty. Her laugh was interrupted by a knock at the door. A guard entered, bowing deeply. My queen, my king, the people have gathered. They wish to see their new heirs. Zara looked at Alexis, her expression soft but determined, ready to face the next impossible challenge. With you. He helped her stand, their children secure in their arms. Always. They stepped out onto the palace balcony together, into the light of Ziphiron's twin sons. Below them, thousands of citizens, men and women united at last, cheered for their future. A future built not on weapons or wars, but on healing old wounds and bridging impossible divides. And if anyone found it strange that their fierce queen now smiled more often, or that their new king sometimes glowed with ancient tech, they kept it to themselves. After all, the best stories are the impossible ones. The end.